The 2025 college football season kicked off in dramatic fashion as number 6 Notre Dame clashed with 10th-ranked Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. It was a game full of big hits, highlight catches, and momentum swings, but in the end, Miami walked away with a 27-24 victory. For Notre Dame, it was a bitter loss, but one that revealed both promise and areas that must be fixed if the Irish are going to contend for the playoff. The game started with intensity right away. Malachi Fields caught an early pass but was stripped of the football by Miami's Justin Scott, setting the tone for a night where turnovers and mistakes played a major role. On the very next drive, Miami's Mark Fletcher tried to power forward, only to be stopped cold by Notre Dame's transfer linebacker Kingston Villanueva, showing the Irish defense wouldn't back down. But special teams soon created chaos. A botched snap on a Notre Dame punt nearly turned into disaster. Dylan Joyce, the punter, scrambled to recover but was chased out of bounds. Miami took advantage of the momentum, with freshman quarterback Carson Beck showing calm under pressure. On one play, he slid to his left, kept his eyes downfield, and delivered a beautiful throw to Malachi Toney for the game's first touchdown. It was a veteran play from a quarterback who looked more than ready for the moment, and it gave Miami the early lead. Notre Dame answered with flashes of their own. Jadarian Price ripped off a long run down the sideline, nearly reaching the end zone. That set up C.J. Carr, Notre Dame's redshirt freshman quarterback, to make history. Carr rolled back under pressure, kept his poise, and fired a strike to Micah Gilbert in the end zone. It was Carr's first career touchdown pass, and it tied the game while announcing that the Irish's young quarterback had arrived. The back and forth continued. Beck connected again, this time with C.J. Daniels, who made one of the catches of the year. Leaping high, he snagged the ball with one hand, secured it against his body, and somehow kept it from touching the ground. Daniels, who had spent last season at LSU, made a statement play that electrified the Miami crowd. Runs from Fletcher and precision passing from Beck kept the Hurricanes moving, and they pushed the ball down to the goal line before powering it across for another touchdown. But Notre Dame refused to go away. Carr found Malachi Fields on a fingertip grab that set up another scoring drive. Despite a messy collision between Carr and his running back, he calmly reset and hit Jordan Faison in the end zone for his second touchdown pass of the night. Carr's mother was shown in the stands, beaming with pride as her son kept Notre Dame alive in the fourth quarter. Miami's defense, though, proved to be the difference down the stretch. Boubacar Traore sacked Carson Beck to give Notre Dame hope, but just when the Irish defense seemed to swing momentum, disaster struck. A tipped pass fluttered into the arms of Ruben Bain Jr., Miami's All-American defensive end, who returned it deep into Irish territory. Moments later, Miami converted the turnover into a crucial field goal, extending their lead. Still, Notre Dame fought. C.J. Carr scored on a designed quarterback draw, crashing through the Miami defense to tie the game late. But Miami had one last answer. With the score tied and time winding down, Miami's Carter Davis lined up for a 47-yard field goal. The stadium held its breath. The kick was pure, splitting the uprights and giving Miami a 3-point lead with less than 2 minutes to play. The Irish had one final chance, but Miami's defensive ends took over. Akeem Masitter and Ruben Bain Jr. closed the game with back-to-back sacks on Carr. The Irish quarterback tried to escape, tried to throw under pressure, but the walls collapsed around him. Time expired, and the Hurricanes celebrated a hard-earned 27-24 win. For Miami, it was validation. Beck played with poise, Toney and Daniels shined at receiver, and the defense delivered when it mattered most. For Notre Dame, the night was about learning. C.J. Carr showed incredible flashes of talent and toughness, throwing 2 touchdowns and running for another in his debut. But the offensive line struggled, turnovers hurt, and the Irish couldn't quite overcome Miami's defensive pressure. The bigger picture, though, Notre Dame is not out of the playoff race. A close road loss against a top 10 Miami team isn't season-ending. The Irish still control their path with upcoming matchups against Texas A&M, Boise State, NC State, USC, Boston College, and Pittsburgh. Win those, and Notre Dame is right back in the playoff conversation. So yes, Notre Dame lost. But they gained something just as important. A quarterback for the future, a battle-tested team, and a reminder that every season is a marathon, not a sprint. In the end, the story wasn't just Miami's victory. It was Notre Dame's resilience in the face of adversity and the promise of what still lies ahead. Now that we've broken down what happened on the field, let's talk about what it all means moving forward. Because for both Notre Dame and Miami, this game was more than just a season opener. It was a tone setter. For Notre Dame, the story starts with C.J. Carr. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's inexperienced. But this game gave Irish fans a glimpse of the future. The freshman stood tall in one of the most hostile environments in college football against one of the nation's best defensive fronts and delivered 3 total touchdowns. That's not just impressive, that's the foundation of a future star. Coaches always talk about growth moments, and for Carr, this was one of them. He now knows what it feels like to take hits from elite defenders, to make throws under duress, and to carry the weight of an entire program on his shoulders. The poise he showed will pay dividends as the season continues. At the same time, there are lessons to learn. The offensive line has to be sharper. Too often, Miami's defenders came free, collapsing pockets before plays could develop. That's not sustainable, especially with teams like Texas A&M and USC waiting later on the schedule. Protection must be priority number 1 for Marcus Freeman and his staff this week. And defensively, Notre Dame showed flashes of brilliance, but also cracks in coverage. Miami's receivers, especially Malachi Toney and C.J. Daniels, were able to find space and make big plays. The secondary will need to tighten up communication, especially in big moments, if the Irish want to shut down elite passing attacks later this year. Now let's flip it to Miami. For the Hurricanes, this one wasn't just about beating Notre Dame. It was about making a statement on the national stage. Carson Beck may not have been the headline name coming into the season, but tonight he showed why Miami believes in him. He was calm, accurate, and clutch when it mattered most. And let's not forget C.J. Daniels' one-handed catch. That's a highlight that will be replayed all season long. Add in Reuben Bain Jr. and Akeem Masitter terrorizing quarterbacks off the edge, and Miami looks like a legitimate contender in 2025. But maybe the most important takeaway is confidence. For a program that's had ups and downs over the last 2 decades, beating Notre Dame at home to start the season reignites belief that Miami football is back, belief that they can hang with anyone in the country, and belief that this year could be special. So what's next? For Notre Dame, it's all about bouncing back. They head into a tough stretch of games where every win matters. A road trip to Texas A&M looms, and that game could decide how the rest of their season unfolds. If the Irish rebound with a statement win, this loss to Miami becomes just a footnote. But if they stumble again, suddenly the margin for error in the playoff race shrinks to nothing. For Miami, the key is consistency. We've seen flashes from the Hurricanes before, big wins followed by puzzling losses. If this team is serious about being a contender, they'll need to sustain this level of play week after week. That means Beck continuing to progress, the defense staying dominant, and the offense cleaning up mistakes. If they can do that, Miami could very well be in the playoff conversation themselves. Now, let's bring in the bigger picture. Across college football, Week 1 always feels like a revelation. Teams we thought were strong sometimes stumble. Players we hadn't heard much about suddenly burst onto the scene. And programs trying to prove themselves get their shot. Notre Dame and Miami gave us one of those classic opening week battles that will shape the narrative for months to come. Think about the ripple effects. A close Notre Dame loss keeps them alive but adds pressure to every future game. A Miami win boosts their ranking, their confidence, and their reputation nationally. The playoff committee will remember this night, not just the score, but how each team played, how they responded under pressure, and how their stars performed. And let's not forget the fans. Social media lit up during the game. Irish fans expressed frustration with the offensive line, but praised C.J. Carr's gutsy debut. Miami fans, meanwhile, celebrated Daniels' one-handed grab and Bain's defensive dominance, calling it one of the most exciting openers in years. The emotion on both sides just proves what college football is all about: passion, pride, and living and dying with every play. So where does this leave us? Notre Dame leaves Miami with a loss, but also with hope. They found their quarterback, they fought to the end, and they show that even in defeat, they have the pieces to build something special this season. Miami leaves with momentum, swagger, and the kind of win that can catapult a team into national relevance. And for the rest of us, we got a game to remember. Big plays, big hits, and a finish that reminded us why college football is so unpredictable, so dramatic, and so beloved. If this is just week 1, imagine what the rest of the season has in store. Miami Gardens, Florida. Notre Dame had one final chance to steal a win in the closing moments at Hard Rock Stadium. Down by 3 with just over a minute remaining, redshirt freshman C.J. Carr took the field tasked with driving the Irish down for a game-tying or game-winning score. On the opposite sideline, Miami coach Mario Cristobal watched with confidence. He trusted his defensive anchors, Reuben Bain Jr. and Akeem Masitter, to finish the job against a worn-down Irish offensive line. And they did exactly that. Back-to-back sacks from Miami's star defensive ends ended Notre Dame's comeback hopes and secured the 10th-ranked Hurricanes' 27-24 victory over number 6 Notre Dame on Sunday night. Cristobal described it as a heavyweight fight, where the late rounds separate champions from challengers. "We knew it was going to somehow, some way, get to this," he said. "If we were tired, we felt they were going to be more tired. That was our chance at the whatever-it-takes mentality." For Miami, the defensive stand was especially satisfying. Just last season, the Hurricanes squandered a chance at the conference title by blowing a 21-point lead against Syracuse. Determined to prevent history from repeating, Cristobal hired Corey Hetherman as defensive coordinator, overhauling not only the scheme but the unit's entire mindset. A healthy Masitter and Bain thrived in that aggressive system, and both delivered when it mattered most. "We go through the 2-minute drill every single day in the hot sun," Masitter explained afterward. "So when the lights are on and the moment is right, we're going to get after it." Grinning, he pointed out his jersey number 3, before gesturing to Bain's number 4. "3 and 4 all day," he said. Bain quickly echoed, "All day. Best in the nation." Their motivation wasn't hard to find. Bain revealed his cell phone lock screen was a screenshot of a story that doubted him, fuel he carried into Sunday's game. But renewing the rivalry with Notre Dame in front of Hurricanes legends like Jimmy Johnson, Michael Irvin, Devin Hester, and Ray Lewis may have been enough on its own. Miami's offense, led by Georgia transfer Carson Beck, had to rally late after Notre Dame erased a 2-touchdown deficit in the fourth quarter. Beck opened the decisive drive with a completion to C.J. Daniels, who had already electrified the crowd with a one-handed touchdown grab before halftime. Running back Charmar Brown then powered the Hurricanes into field goal range, setting the stage for kicker Carter Davis. Davis, a transfer who had won the job despite a shaky 4-for-11 career record on field goals, drilled a 47-yarder with less than 2 minutes left. "Once I looked up and saw it was in, my heartbeat skipped and then accelerated," Davis said afterward. The clutch kick capped a night where Beck finished 20 of 31 for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. Carr, meanwhile, showed flashes of his promise in his first career start. He threw 2 touchdown passes and tied the game with a diving 7-yard run. But when the Irish needed him most, Miami's defense swarmed, denying him a chance at one last big play. The loss marked Notre Dame's 7th straight road defeat to Miami. Afterward, Carr admitted the moment humbled him. "Tonight wasn't good enough out of me specifically. We've got to get better." Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman echoed the sentiment, pointing to struggles in the trenches. The Irish managed just 1 sack all night and couldn't consistently pressure Beck. "You're not going to be successful on defense if you can't get pressure with a 4-man rush," Freeman said. For Miami, the win was more than just a victory. It was their first against a top 10 opponent since a 41-8 demolition of Notre Dame in 2017. And Cristobal made clear the Hurricanes aren't satisfied. "It's an unbelievable night for everyone who poured so much into this," he said. "We're grateful, but we're also hungry for the next one."